I can see by looking at the screen, we have a quorum of existing members. So let me just read a few things in for the record and we'll start the meeting. This meeting of the planning board is convening remotely via the Teams app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials have been provided to the members of this body and will be shown during this transmission. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We now turn to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules in effect for clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motion. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members wish to engage with each other, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, we have established an email address for public comment, publiccomments@danversmass.gov. This email address is shown online with streaming of the meeting. Residents may email comments and they will be provided read out loud after the staff has confirmed your name and address. All emails must contain the date and phrase planning board meeting in the subject line. Finally, each vote taken this evening will be conducted by a roll call vote. So the first item on the agenda is 69 North Street, request for definitive subdivision plan approval to construct a 6-lot single-family residential subdivision submitted by North Street Development LLC for property located at 69 North Street, Assessors Map 15, Lot 27, containing approximately 6.92 acres of land. Said property is located in the residential 3 zoning districts. Before the meeting started, we were notified that the applicant wanted to continue this conversation, this application until our January 11th, 2022 meeting. So I was looking for a motion from a member of the board to continue to our January 11th meeting. Is there a motion to continue?
I move that we continue 69 North Street to January 11th, 2022.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussions from the board? Hello?
Just a quick question in terms of, so it's my understanding that based on the last extension that it would be that we're extending it to the next hearing, but is the action date will be extended as well. Is that correct?
Josh, you want to clarify that?
Yes, yes. In the same correspondence regarding the continuance tonight, the application in its entirety has been, the extension completion date has been extended to January 14th, so that Friday. So I can confirm that that has happened.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, let me do a roll call vote. Tori?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
Peg?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. This motion is carried and we'll pick it up on January 11th, 2022. The next item on the agenda, Maple Square preliminary subdivision. Request for preliminary subdivision plan approval submitted by Georgetown Capital Management, LLC, and LRC, LLC for property at 114, 128, 140, 146, 146A, and 148 Maple Street, 136, 7, and 9 Hobart Street, 53, 61, and 66 North Putnam Street, 2 and 6 Putnam Court in Danvers, also known as Assessors Maps 43, Lot 510, 512, 530, 531, 532, 533, 509, 508, 405, 507, 506, 518, 516, 529, 515, 514. Pursuant to the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land, Town of Danvers Planning Board, said property is located in the Industrial 1 and Maple Street Traditional Neighborhood Development Overlay Zoning District. The applicant proposes to consolidate and create the above referenced properties into 4 new lots with the creation of 1 new street. As the previous agenda item, the applicant has asked for a continuation of this application until our January 11th, 2022 meeting. And Josh, can you just clarify the same issue that Lou raised in terms of the action date?
Yes, very similarly to the previous application, the action date for this item was originally going to be December 24th. Obviously, with the application being continued to the January 11th meeting, and the same correspondence from the applicant, we received an extension of the completion to January 14th, 2022. So it's past our next meeting as well. So, which is good.
So with that clarification, is there a motion to continue this application for this agenda item until our January 11, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Lou. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Tuli. Any discussion from the board members? Okay, hearing none. How about a roll call vote? Peg?
Yes.
Tori?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So we'll take this up at the January 11, 2022 meeting. Okay,
Thank you very much. I appreciate the board's time tonight and have a good holiday.
you too.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holiday.
Okay, the third item on the agenda is 139 Endicott Street, Endicott Plaza, request for site plan approval pursuant to section 4 of the zoning bylaw submitted by Endicott Plaza Limited Partnership for property in the commercial 3 zoning district. The applicant proposed to construct a new 2,623 square foot freestanding building for Starbucks with the associated drive-through window, assessors map 63, lot 2. So I'll turn this over to the applicant. Josh, who's going to be speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Yep, it's Mr. Brian Dundon from RJ O'Connell.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, go right ahead.
Yes. Yep, we can see and hear you, Brian.
Excellent. Josh, do you think it'd be worthwhile just to post the site plan, or do you want me to just go through my presentation and we can refer to the site plan?
Yeah, did you want me to share it, or did you want to share it? What would be easiest for you?
Sure, if you could, please.
Okay. Yep. Well, if you want to start giving the presentation, I'll put it up for everyone, for the group.
No problem. Good evening. For the record, my name is Brian Dundon. I am a site civil engineer with the engineering firm of RJ O'Connell and Associates in Stoneham, Mass. I have with me tonight the project applicant, Mr. Thomas Petzold, representing Endicott Plaza Limited Partnership, care of Petzold Enterprises. We are here tonight before the board seeking approval of a major modification site plan application, seeking approval to demolish an existing 1,680 square foot single-story structure on property known as Endicott Plaza that was formerly operated by Salem 5-cent Savings Bank. It should be noted that this building is currently vacant. And as a result of raising said structure, we are seeking to construct a 2,623 square foot freestanding single-story structure to be operated by Starbucks Coffee. It should be noted, as mentioned, that as part of the Starbucks operation, there will be a drive-through window. So as I go on, this is the blow up of the area in question. Just for orientation purposes, we're at Endicott Plaza at 139 Endicott Street. To the north end is the Savers building, and then to the south is the West Marine / Endicott Liquors buildings. Those are two existing landmarks at the mall. And in the middle is the planned Starbucks program. By way of a little background and some previous history, permitting history of the property, I was actually in front of this board back in May of this year, in which the board granted a major modification to the mall ownership group, of a major modification to a site plan application, if they may recall, to allow Market Basket to expand their entry vestibule area by approximately 600 square feet. In addition to the entry vestibule area, Market Basket also proposes new curbing, landscape upgrades, and parking lot resurfacing within their primary parking lot area. These improvements are currently under construction, where the majority of the work is actually happening interior to the building. It is anticipated that in the spring of 2022, the site improvements will be commenced. Prior to May of 2021, the last time an application was submitted to the board was back in September of 2016. The project ownership was requesting a minor modification to the approved site plan to construct a canopy over the existing Savers drop-off area, which this board previously approved. I believe the board is pretty familiar with the site. The subject site is an existing single parcel that's about 20.8 acres in area that is currently developed, and it's at the northeast quadrant of the Route 128 / Endicott Street interchange. The property currently operates as a 236,500 square foot retail shopping center with 1,003 parking spaces. Tenants that occupy the shopping center include, but are not limited to, Market Basket, Ocean State Job Lot, Savers, and CVS. The shopping center is currently serviced by two existing curb cuts that are located along Endicott Street. The easterlymost curb cut operates as a full access unsignalized curb cut, and the westerlymost curb cut operates as a full access curb cut, but under a traffic signal control. The redevelopment of the property, as previously mentioned, we're proposing to raise the former Salem 5 Cent Savings Bank located at the westerly end of the property to construct a 2,600 plus or minus square foot freestanding single-story structure with a drive-up window to be operated by Starbucks. The drive-through lane to accommodate the window has been designed to accommodate 16 vehicles. It should be noted that the shopping center's access points will remain unchanged and in their current state. The site improvements plan to accommodate Starbucks will result in a net loss of 27 parking spaces. 976 spaces will be provided, where 950 spaces are required per the requirements outlined in zoning. It should also be mentioned that the development program will also result in a net increase in landscape area on site by approximately 7,100 square feet. The property, per the town of Danvers zoning map, is located entirely within the commercial 3 zoning district. Restaurant type uses that provide takeout service, that are fast food, or provide a drive-through window are permitted as a matter of right within the commercial 3 district. The project applicant's development program is subject to the filing of a major modification site plan application with the planning board pursuant to section 4.3.8A-1 of the zoning ordinance to increase the total square footage of structures. The applicant proposes to expand the existing shopping center building footprint by 943 square feet. As previously mentioned, the improvements will result in a decrease in parking existing, but still be zoning compliant. The existing utilities that service the shopping center are as follows. They have municipal sewer, water, gas, electric, and telephone currently service the mall the shopping center and have adequate capacity to accommodate the redevelopment to accommodate Starbucks coffee. It should be noted that with the changing use from a bank to a restaurant, the sewer demand or the sewer demand and the water demand, there will be slight increases over and above the existing condition. And as a result of that, under the Town of Danvers Water Use Management Plan, the project is subject to payment of an impact fee. We have reached out to DPW and are working with that group to determine the amount of the impact fee to be paid. Regarding, as a result of also the project's increase in landscaped area, the overall on-site stormwater management network is also improved, excuse me. As a result of the increase in landscaped area, there will be a minor decrease in the peak flow discharge rate of stormwater to be discharged from the site. Furthermore, the site improvements will not alter the existing stormwater flow patterns or characteristics. So essentially, the way stormwater behaves today will remain after the Starbucks development program. It should be noted that there are some enhancements to the on-site stormwater management system that will result as a result of the Starbucks development, and it's limited to within the Starbucks limited work area. And they are as follows. Rainfall runoff collected within Starbucks area will be treated for pollutant removal prior to discharging into the existing on-site drainage system. The treatment will include new catch basins will be installed with deep sumps and environmental hoods, and a hydrodynamic particle separator for additional pollutant removal will be added prior to the area's stormwater being discharged into the on-site drainage system. The reduction in 7,000 square feet of impervious surface area will result in an increase in the amount of annual recharge to the groundwater table. As part of our major modification application, the project will require to have a stormwater permit issued for it. As a result of that stormwater permit approval process through DPW, a construction pollution prevention plan will be prepared, which identifies and outlines erosion control measures that need to be in place and maintained by the contractor during construction. Similarly, under post-construction conditions, and again, as part of the Market Basket Development Project, our office has developed a post-construction operation and maintenance plan for the shopping center. And we will be updating that O&M plan to incorporate the inspection and maintenance requirements associated with the Starbucks program. So in short, those are some of the benefits of enhancements from the on the stormwater component this project provides. It should be noted that since our filing of our major modification application, we have received comment letters from the planning department, the engineering department, and the fire department. We have reviewed those comments. We have provided written commentary back to Josh's group to respond to comments in kind. My personal opinion is the comments were more technical and minor related. I believe that with a combination of written responses and revising the site plans that were filed before you, that we've adequately addressed the said comments, in my opinion. However, I will defer to Josh if he thinks otherwise. So that tonight concludes the presentation before you as far as the redevelopment at Endicott Plaza. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions or comments the board may have.
Okay, thank you for that comprehensive overview. So Lou, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Okay. Very good. Yeah. And again, I appreciate the very comprehensive presentation. And I'm very familiar with the site, and so I did have a few questions just to start off. So I did notice that, in terms of the relatively close proximity to we have a relative close proximity to the Savers drop-off area. And so, and you might have already covered this in terms of response to comments, but if you could just briefly explain in terms of what's, what sort of measures you're taking to ensure that you don't have any sort of traffic concerns or other sort of, where you're potentially impeding the Savers drop-off.
Yeah, yes. So early on in our design process, I did have the pleasure of meeting with Josh on this project. And what Josh explained to me is that the Savers area gets quite busy during the weekend period, specifically Saturday morning timeframes. What we observed out there was a lack of definition as far as corralling cars and vehicles to queue up properly in front of the Savers canopy areas. So what we have done to accommodate both uses, being the Savers drop-off area and the Starbucks area, is in the middle of the plan here, you'll see this island shape in here. So the proposal was to kind of define a single point of entry, but allow as vehicles come in, typically you already know before you make that left or right into this area that either you're going to Starbucks or you're going to Savers. And then by curbing is define 2 dedicated drive lanes to accommodate each use. So as you come in and you drive parallel to the Savers building, we have provided a stacking of 8 vehicles along that road. Similarly, to the right of that, or to that, is in the shaded boxes, represents 16 car queue length to accommodate Starbucks window. It should be noted, as we discussed with Josh, typically with a Starbucks, their peak times is usually early in the morning when people are going to work, Monday through Friday. So we anticipate that, in the morning hours, the heavy user will be Starbucks and its drive queue length. And on the weekends, when typically the queue length for Starbucks won't be as long, the dedicated queue length for Savers would have its independence. So there should not be, we don't anticipate many conflicts with cars going to either one, as it's been clearly signed and defined as to which route of travel to take, and they're separated by a landscaped island.
So will that so that area that was pointed out earlier, that sort of large area, will that be landscaped and signed?
Yes.
Okay. So that's not paving. That'll actually be landscape, and is that, I guess, in part what's going to be responsible for the additional 7,100 square feet?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, okay, that's good to know. In terms of looking at the, I had a chance to take a look at your response to the comments. It looks like it was about a 6-page document that it looks like it was dated today. Okay. And just are there any, I did notice, I guess, that one of the planning staff comments related to a removal of 3 non-handicap parking spaces along the front of the building, and there was a concern about safety concerns. And could you I know you responded sort of in the negative on that, and could you could you explain a little bit?
Yeah, so I reviewed this comment with Josh. Since there's 2 things going on. One is that we are required to provide ADA accessible spaces to service the Starbucks. Okay. And the requirement is to have these spaces as close to the entry area as possible. So we already had at least 2 spaces required. In addition, as part of today's world, a lot of Starbucks is no different than Dunkin' Donuts. The mobile ordering app is becoming very popular. So we provided, the additional 3 spaces is really allocated for that, where customers would come in, park, go in, and then be able to go out. What we feel is going to happen here is that, since this area is really typically, it's not defined that well. So the existing vehicles kind of travel a little bit on a high rate of speed. We believe that this will act as a traffic calming measure, where due to, a high turnover in space utilization, it will force vehicles that are traveling from Ocean State to Savers along West Marine and then vice versa from West Marine up to Savers to be slowing down and be paying attention to the fact that there is vehicle activity. So we kind of see it, as a traffic calming measure to slow things down. It provides the tenant with accommodating its customer base with spaces that accommodate a mobile ordering type situation. And it should be noted that we are installing a new, what I call like a canoe-shaped island opposite the Starbucks. It is in this area right in here. That we have, again, allowed pedestrian access across the road, and that'll be signed with pedestrian crossing signs and whatnot to kind of enforce traffic calming measures within this area.
Okay, got it. Understood. Okay, is that and just continuing on in terms of Josh, is that a I know that was a planning staff question. Is that response, at least as of right now, is that satisfactory?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with applicants and projects, it's, is there justification for, and it's not like, if there was like 10 or 12 spaces there, maybe I'd be a little bit more concerned.
Sure.
It is a small number of spaces, in totality, if you're looking at, the plaza as a whole. So, and just it is in the sort of back corner, which is sort of quiet now. Obviously, with this new business operating, it will not be as quiet. There will be certainly more activity, but I think that three non-handicap four non-handicap spaces is, it seems like it will probably work. It will probably work.
And thanks. And I do have just a question with respect to for Josh, for staff as well. I know that one of the notes that the applicant did is with respect to signage, that that they've not prepared the signage program for the site, and that Starbucks intends to submit a separate permit application seeking approval of the signage program. So would that come to us with like a minor modification or another major modification?
It probably wouldn't come to the board, to be honest. Generally, they do need to get a sign permit from the building department that would be reviewed, and then that permit is granted. That item would probably not come back to the board.
Sure. And I guess I don't want to monopolize things, but just one more, just in terms of, so it appears here, and I'll ask the just two final questions for the applicant in terms of, are there any outstanding issues? It seems like you did respond to it looks like all of the comments. Are there any outstanding comments that are unresolved? And then just as my final question would be, in addition to any outstanding comments, I would also ask in terms of, I know you mentioned some of the other activities, some of the other, that the Market Basket, the liquor store being done there, the earlier site plan approval with respect to Savers. I know that the Endicott Liquors is being vacated. Is there any sort of subsequent plan that's going to be coming up that could sort of impact this whole general area? I know those are one question. So
yeah, there are two questions. So I'll answer the comment question first.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge, I believe we have provided written responses to all comments received to date. I believe that there isn't a comment here that we cannot come to an agreement to address. However, I will respectfully defer to Josh on the final opinion with that. With respect to the repurposing of Endicott Liquors, I think Tom is on the call, and I will, if Tom could just weigh in as to what he thinks his plans will be for that space, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, hi, Brian, thank you. This is Tom Petzel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Endicott liquor store will be closing, and that's a 5,000 square foot space that we will be redeveloping and upgrading, and I presume it'll find a retail tenant. It would be my expectation that that'll become a retail store. But the marketing of that has not begun. So I do not have a tenant lined up for it. And so I don't have any specific businesses to indicate, but the concept and expectation is that will become retail.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if I, John or Lou, if I could just kind of comment or pick on Lou, your initial question, if there was any outstanding items. We did receive that letter from the applicant team today. I did share it with the engineering staff. Late in the afternoon, I did receive a comment from engineering. They would just like to ensure that we include the following condition if there is a decision made tonight. I could read it. The applicant shall CCTV the existing drain line in the presence of the Danvers Engineering Division. The Engineering Division will determine the existing condition of the drain and its structural integrity. The acceptable repairs and or replacement will be conditioned in the required stormwater permit application. So it appears that the response from the response letter today from the development team was was acceptable. Engineering would just like to include this condition. Also, I did share this condition with Brian, so he is the development team, so they are aware of it. So that in terms of what's open, that's the only thing I would add.
Okay,
Thanks very much. I don't have any questions.
Thanks, Lou. Okay, Jean, you're next. Do you have questions?
No. You talked about the traffic with Savers drop off, but I really just had a question about the traffic entering and exiting the plaza, if that's sort of a peak time frame, and if there was any sort of traffic analysis done on that.
We did not, again, based on the type of project that we have here, we did not have a traffic analysis performed for this redevelopment project. We believe typically, with whether a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts type user, you tend to see these buildings placed right on the street frontage, because the goal is to capture the traffic going to work in the morning or coming home at night. And as a result of that, there's a lot of activity and high turnover with that, which equates to long queue lines. The Starbucks, the way it's positioned in the shopping center, is a little bit unique. It is not along the street front. It's actually about 1,500 feet inboard of Endicott Street. So you typically will not get that typical customer, that the typical client that is on his way into work, that just wants to get off the road into the restaurant and get back on the road as quick as possible. This takes a little bit of time, where you have to navigate about 1,500 linear feet into the site, get into a queue, and then go off. We really believe that the Starbucks is really going to here to service the shopping center. So as a result of that, we don't anticipate or expect any operational issues with the existing signalized intersection along Endicott Street, or the unsignalized intersection that is upgrading or easterly of the existing signalized intersection. And for that reason, we did not feel it was prudent to have a traffic study performed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was wondering who your target customers would be.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Tori?
Yeah, well, we've covered a lot of my concerns here, but can you explain how this double drive-through works? Are there Are they simultaneously taking orders in both lines and servicing them from one window?
Yeah, yes. So Josh, go
Okay.
to the pull up a little bit. There you go. The way it works is customers will have the ability to come in and queue up. And then there are two main points of access for the customer. There are two ordering board areas. One is in this location right here. If you see where my pointer is, that's 7 cars back. There is a pre-order board where as you come in, the customer has the ability to identify its product it wants on the ordering board. And then it moves up to this space right here and just does actual ordering. So internal, by radio headset, there are 2 ordering stations that come in here and here for each of the lane. Then as they come through, they will merge at this point right here to file into a single defined lane, pick up their order, and then off they will exit the shopping center.
So you can have, what is it, about 16 cars in that line without actually being out in the parking lot?
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm concerned about the traffic flow entering the center. And forgive me if some of what I'm about to say sounds like deja vu from the market basket conversation, but many times I've seen traffic backed up to the point where people can't make that left turn and the turn lane backs up into Endicott Street. And presumably Market Basket is going to draw more customers with the new liquor store, and Starbucks, if you drive past the one in Beverly, very often there are cars sticking partially out into Elliott Street. It's a popular business. When a car comes in, makes that left turn into the shopping center, are they going to veer off to the left and head toward Savers and then make that very extreme turn to get into this queue? Or is that going to be too extreme a turn right in front of Savers for most cars to want to do? I'm trying to understand the path from Endicott Street to the line of the drive-in.
Yeah. So as part of the Market Basket enhancement work, one of the requests from this board was to try to increase the wayfinding signage from
Yes.
Market Basket to facilitate the directional route. So that we have done that. That's what this plan shows, is these areas where, again, give a little bit more wayfinding signage approach to accommodate Starbucks. The intent is to do the same with Starbucks. So in other words, Starbucks will have these 2 square foot on average directional signage. And the plan is, if you're coming in off Endicott Street, is to utilize the main access perimeter road exactly to your point, where it would be coming down to the stop sign, take the left-hand turn, come back in along the storefront of Starbucks, and then either enter the Starbucks queue lane or Stevens Way. So yes.
And so there will be clear signage when somebody makes that left turn off Endicott, so they're not trying to drive past Market Basket and standing there while 6 people cross with a shopping cart in front of them.
That is correct. The purpose is to utilize that perimeter access drive. We'll have wayfinding signing with, if you're familiar with the Starbucks, they have a Starbucks drive-through with a left arrow type symbol.
Okay.
Those will be installed at a couple locations on site, and will be shown on the updated site plan that we submit that addresses some of the comments that came out of staff.
Okay. Okay, that addresses my concern. All right, thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, Peg?
Okay, I'm still looking at the traffic pattern. So we're coming in the main road, then we're going to take a left, go all the way down past the parking spaces that will also be supplying Starbucks, and then across and then they come down and go around through the drive-through. So what about people? One of the things I see at Starbucks is that a lot of people like to come in and sit, use the computer and have a cup of coffee and don't necessarily go through the drive-through, or maybe I've just hit the times that that's when some people are doing it. So what about the protection of the people crossing over from the parking spaces across that lane of traffic, across the, is that the pickup spaces and into the Starbucks?
Yes, so for the clientele that wishes to, as you mentioned, stay internal to the building and work with their laptop. What we have done is we have identified or proposing what I'm, again, for lack of a better term, that we call this like a canoe landscaped island with a sidewalk system. And then we have a crosswalk that crosses over, it connects into the sidewalk system in front of the storefront. This area will be not only striped for crosswalking, but it will also have traffic control signage, which is crosswalk yield to pedestrians and the crosswalk on both approaches. So if you're coming from Endicott Street and along the front of Endicott Liquors, there'll be signage warning vehicles that the crosswalks ahead, and then vice versa. If you're coming around from Ocean State to Savers along this way, there'll be signage installed within this little island end cap here. Signage, again, notifying vehicles that pedestrian crosswalk yield to customers in the crosswalk.
I didn't see that. I didn't realize that was a pedestrian crosswalk. I
Yes.
do have a concern with traffic backing out of the spaces right in front. I know there's nothing you can do about it, but I have never seen so many rude people that when you're halfway out in the street will come by and swerve around you or nearly hit you, instead of, in the old days, we used to slow down and let someone pull out of a parking space. So I have a little bit of a concern, but not much. How many tables are you going to have inside? Is that 6?
There's on the outdoor patio area, there is 6 tables to accommodate 24 seats.
Okay,
Inside the store, there's another 31 seats.
okay. Can we go to the rendition of the building?
Excuse me?
You had in our package, the elevation of the building, which showed it in brown and green.
Okay, yeah, that's at the end of the set, Josh.
Okay.
I think there's a perspective view of the next one that may help.
This is
Yeah,
what,
I'm a big
Peg, is this what you'd like?
Here it is. I'm a big landscaper fan. Trying to see where we could have something other than just, you know, is this going to be brown and yellow, or aren't you usually green?
Well, in fairness to the elevation was prepared by the architect in a conceptual format, which kind of gave the tone of what the building was going to look like. It didn't take into account any landscaping design. However, what we did is we included in our site plan submission a detailed landscape package for this area.
Okay.
Which accommodates, there will be street trees and plantings and shrubs planned for this area, in addition to lawn grass and the open expanses of landscaping. So as you're seeing within our limit of work, which is this cloud, these big circles represent trees.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I got it.
And then they'll be supplemented with landscape shrubs in these areas and at the end caps and along the dumpster area and along the median here as well.
Where's the dumpster?
The dumpster is right in this area right in here.
Okay. I did look at these plans before tonight, but I'm, having a little difficulty right now. Okay, my concern also is just having a huge building. Looks like it's a 2-story building?
No, the Starbucks is a 1-story building. It's about 2,600 square feet in area. It's about almost 1,000 square feet bigger than what was there before. So it's small, in the grand scheme of things, it's really a small addition. It's just being repurposed.
Okay. I'm very sensitive to larger buildings that are dark colors without any type of something to break them up. I, for one, love Starbucks, so I'm glad to see one nearby, other than on 114. I am concerned about addressing the comments that unfortunately, just came back to you from the engineer, and Josh had read a statement that I think would definitely needs to be included in as a condition.
Yep.
So I think this is a good use of space. I think you might get a lot of people. Hopefully that the 5,000 square foot building next door will turn into something where people might decide to stop and have a cup of coffee without driving to it. So I think I'm comfortable with what's here.
Okay, thanks, Peg.
Snow plowing though, well, that's taken care of by the mall, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Have to make sure we get Jim's snow plowing in. Okay. And no audio, right?
That is
No,
correct.
no outdoor audio. Okay. I'm comfortable.
So I just have a few questions, and I a lot of the questions have been answered already. It's around the traffic pattern. You know, I fully expect that this Starbucks location is going to be very successful. It's got a great brand. It's got a great following. The good news here is it's not, ironically, it's not close to a public way. People have to go in to, take advantage of their services. Mike, and you touched on a few things. I'm just curious do you have the mix of customers? Because I was concerned about pedestrians walking in and out of the facility. Of what percentage does Starbucks expect? I know it's different with COVID. Most people are lining up to pick up instead of going in, but historically, is there a trend of what percentage of the customers go in compared to lining up in the queues for the pickup window? You guys have a sense for that?
I'd be approximating. I don't really, in today's world, everything is changing. Even during the summer times, when you thought at one point, customers would actually park and walk in. Today, with the mobile ordering, everything's on the run. I mean, everything is, they're staying in the cars. They're waiting. The queue length says sometimes it's quicker just to go inside the store and get your product and leave, but they're more satisfied to stay in. So if I had to estimate, and again, I don't have Starbucks' numbers on this, it's more slanted towards heavy drive-through use and less sit down, utilize the patio area or the inside if it's raining or snowing for computer type use. I would think it'd probably be like a 60-40 split.
Wow.
Okay, that's helpful. And I had the same observation that Tori had in terms of the Starbucks in Beverly on Elliott Street. I mean, that clearly gets a lot of traffic even on the weekends, which is kind of surprising. I mean, it just goes to show the brand, people like their brand.
Right.
So, the 16 cars for queuing, how does that compare to traditional drive-throughs for Starbucks? Is this on the higher end, or is this just the average about how many they would have historically?
Yeah, based on Starbucks analysis again, for their type of use, and again, I'll just quickly as a point of reference, just defer back to the town's own parking requirements for drive-throughs of this magnitude. A queue length for an operation like this requires 13. Starbucks requires the 16. They won't occupy a site without a minimum queue length of 16 vehicles. So I think that the town has identified the high use operation and is requiring a double-digit queue length. And I think it just gets backed up by the fact that Starbucks is requiring pretty much the same number.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, and finally, I mean, I think we've all been over there. Savers is, a good mission. Is that traffic pattern? Because when I would go over there, I'd always exit behind the building and behind CVS to get out of the plaza. Is that the strategy for moving the traffic for those people who are going to Savers?
Yes, that the parking, the exit operation will not change. What this really does is it really defines, you're allowed to have a double queue length of 8 vehicles. It kind of gives some definition and traffic counting measures as to how to exit that and go behind West Marine and down by CVS to exit out.
Okay. Well, you got several excellent tenants there, high use, and you're hearing what the concern is, but I'm comfortable you guys are managing that. It is hard sometimes to get in and out, just to go to Market Basket and further down just to get away from the traffic flow. So I know you got your eyes on it. Whatever you can do to continue to improve that traffic flow, I think is in everyone's best interest. I am concerned about safety, and hopefully what you've done with the crosswalk and people will pay attention. Because I think they've gotten accustomed to not a lot of traffic in that particular area of the plaza. It's going to change dramatically in my opinion. Okay, that's all I had. Any comments from the public that would like to weigh in on this? Josh?
Yep, Matt Duggan.
Go ahead, Mr. Duggan.
All right, thank you. Can we just do a deeper dive on the snow storage there for the 2 lanes? Is the snow going to go over to the right side next to the Endicott Liquors building where it's landscaped? Is that the plan?
There will be a small, Tom, the mall ownership has a contract with a snow management group that is very familiar with the site. And Tom, again, understanding needs to maintain as many spaces as possible to operate the shopping center, is identified, with the snow management contract is very familiar with how the shopping center needs its snow removed. But we have identified areas within this landscaped island in here for snow removal storage, but snow storage, again, would pretty much be limited to the Starbucks area, as well as areas in here as well. And again, the intent is during a snowstorm is whatever snow that is accumulated within the travel lane for the drive-through would pretty much be stored in this place. We got to be sensitive to the fact that there is an exit door for the former Endicott Liquors, so not to bury snow up there, but there will be some snow stored along here and in these areas here. And then the rest of the shopping center, we have, again, there's an approved plan on file with the planning board that identifies the dedicated areas where snow is to be stored, and those will be maintained. They're not being altered as a result of this development program.
Okay. So down in the lower left-hand corner, I see that there's some new spaces there that aren't there today, and that's outside the scope of your project. But are those spaces like for your employees, or maybe Josh can see where there's some slashed areas there, and then there's some spaces. Are those for the employees, do you think, or what do you expect those spaces will be for? Because they're not there today.
That is correct. So that area was part of the Market Basket major modification submission.
Okay.
We have identified adding some additional parking in this area to service the employees of the portion of the shopping center in this corner.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Starbucks employees won't utilize those spaces as well.
Yeah, I think they did that further up in the rear also when you get over to the kind of the northern side of the property. So I think that was part of just trying to carve out some additional parking. See, do you see conflict with vehicles exiting after the pickup and then the vehicles that are coming in? Because I think that seems like the Achilles heel for this whole project is just that those 2 travel lanes in front of the store there, where that crosswalk is. It just seems, do you think that that's really wide enough there to accommodate all this activity to kind of in and out?
Well, with respect to this curb cut right here, this curb cut was purposely smaller in size than the one on the opposite end. And the reason for this is designed for exit only. We don't want to get we don't want to get the perception to open that up and then someone inadvertently come up the drive-through lane when people are exiting. It's designed as exit only.
Yeah,
So-
I think I was talking about the horizontal there, like just above where the two handicap spots are.
Yep.
Just that seems like a very busy area. If you're having through traffic from other areas in the parking lot, and then you have maybe pedestrians crossing, it just seems it seems busy to me. But
No, that drive aisle width is 24 feet wide, which is more than adequate to accommodate two-way traffic. It's consistent with the widths of the drive aisles in front of West Marine and in front of Savers. So it's all, the continuity still maintains. Sometimes when you open up more and you have to narrow down and meet existing conditions on both ends, that tends to create some conflicts. But the 24-foot wide drive aisle to accommodate 2 lanes of traffic is more than suffice to handle the activities anticipated by Starbucks as well as the rest of the customer flow traffic. It's a common design width.
okay, all right, that's cool. And then just one last question about the actual drive-through wait times. Does Starbucks have kind of calculated what an average time would be within this queue, and you know, like for an average order? Do they have an estimate of from when the car first pulls into the drive-through lane to when they have their order and they're leaving?
You know, that's a good question. I don't have a solid answer for you on
Okay,
that.
that's fine. I was just curious because, you know, we have these other coffee pickup windows, and in the morning, they can be quite troublesome. They typically are impacting actually mainline traffic, like on thoroughfares. So this, the fact that this is off in the corner, I think, is a good thing. So, all right, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. I believe, Josh, we have another member from the public that wants to speak. I see it. Marie Planky, is that correct? I see a hand up in one of the guests.
Yeah, they could. There are people interested in speaking. Yeah, Marie, would you like to speak or?
Hi.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Marie Planky. I live at 59 Endicott Street. And I'm concerned about the traffic on Endicott Street. I know I missed the opening part of this, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating anything or not understanding. But there's a huge problem down here on Endicott Street, just with the traffic on the street, especially at that Market Basket light. The light only lets like 4 or 5 cars through on Endicott, and it empties out Market Basket and the medical center exit across the way. So it backs up the traffic way down past Hutchinson. And I just don't know if you're aware of that and if there's anything that can be done. When the medical center went in, then we were told the problems on Endicott Street, the traffic would be resolved with synchronizing the lights, the traffic lights. And as far as I know, that has never been done. I've talked to this, the town, and the towns that some of them are state lights. Tried to talk to the state, have talked to a couple of state reps. And I don't believe they've ever been synchronized. So that's one of my concerns, is the traffic and what impact this is going to have on the main street traffic. The other concern I have is a lot of people are using instead of using the entrance at the lights, they go beyond and try to cut across in between the Town Fair Tire and the electrical substation. And it's gotten very dangerous there. People cutting across and coming out of there to cut across. So I don't know if that's been addressed on the main plan. I guess because of COVID, then I missed the whole market basket redesign over there. And the other concern that I have is litter. We get inundated with litter over here on Endicott and Needham Road from Market Basket. It used to be the plastic bags. Now we don't have those, but now we have all the Purell wipes that people use. They all blow over here. They just don't maintain the property very well. They have a lot of litter that's blowing all over the place, and it tends to blow down this direction. And also, I have people that use that Market Basket Plaza that park in my parking lot that I have on the side of my house. So I'm concerned about that as well. So those are, I just wanted to express my concerns, and thank you for letting me speak.
So those are some interesting concerns, Marie. Thanks for bringing them up. I mean, from the development team, is there anything you can do to talk to the management at Market Basket about these? Because, you know, obviously the neighborhood shouldn't be feeling this type of effect around litter and parking in private property. Is there an ongoing conversation with the management team at Market Basket or any of your tenants in this plaza?
Yeah. This is Tom Petzel talking, and yeah, the parking lot maintenance is entirely on me. It's not Market Basket. Any debris that's outside is on me, and we don't spare expense in this. And I will bring to bear anything I have to do to improve it if there's issues with it. But it's a major focal point for us. It always has been, and I'm open to enhancing it as necessary, and having a line of communication. I've often, I'm available to have a line of communication with citizens, customers, neighbors who see things and want them addressed. I live in Detroit, okay, so if I'm not there, and I'd like to know about these things, and I do have full-time service and long relationships with people that are my vendors. And it's very important to me that we are good citizens, and our interests are aligned. A clean shopping center is an attractive one, and it's good for business. So that's why we feel this way.
Okay, I appreciate that being addressed. So Josh, to you, in terms of coordinating some of the issues with, you know, the lights and synchronizing the lights, I mean, that seems to make a lot of sense. What is that process? Obviously, it's not the private developer's responsibility, but
Right.
how do we address that?
So that is a larger item. So I believe, I don't know this definitively, but I believe that the lights, at least at the highway ramps, are owned, operated, managed by Mass DOT. I'm not sure if they own all of the lights on the whole Endicott Street corridor. I'd have to ask, reach out to other town staff to confirm that. But, it would kind of have to be a conversation, obviously, with town staff and staff at Mass DOT, probably District 4 in their office, and, how, if that's something that the town and Mass DOT is interested in doing collaboratively, how,
So what I would suggest, Josh, I mean, if you look at retailing in today's environment, this is a very successful location for the town of Danvers. So we have to get it right, not only for the residents, right? But for the viability of that particular, so it doesn't seem like it should be that difficult, but obviously, you know, the planning board doesn't hear about stuff like this unless there's an application coming forward. So, I mean, it's a successful location, tenants that the town of Danvers like to visit. So, you know, I'd like to see if we can put that on the agenda, see if we can address it for the neighborhood. So I can understand the frustration, especially this time of year, Christmas season, right, with all the traffic. So
Sure. I'm not sure if there's been a prior, you know, I can, you know, ask around internally if there's been conversations in the past where they've gone or what's been kind of obstructions for it, you know, why, you know, if it's not happening now, has there been kind of macro level conversations that I'm not aware of with townsfolk, with Mass DOT, or, you know, I could definitely look into that and I could circle back to the board. You know, there are, you know, it's potentially Mass DOT owns all of those lights on Endicott Street, but I don't know myself at this, as we speak right now. But I'm fairly certain that at least the two by the highway they own, operate, manage, and I'm not sure if, and the town probably, you know, does the light at Endicott in Sylvan and then Endicott on Water on the other end. You know, I was looking, you know, I was just looking at it the other day, right? The other day, and you know, there are there are numerous lights on that corridor, and yeah, I mean, from an economic standpoint, them functioning, you know, is good for obviously the business community, the economic activity in that area of town, and you know, just for regional, you know, people shopping and for Danvers residents as well. So it is something that should definitely be looked at, reviewed, and you know, there should be some type of solution or, you know, kind of corridor improvement. You know, as we kind of look at, you know, from a planning, short term, longer term, you know, and what's going to happen with the, you know, the mall, looking, you know, and, you know, visioning and that type of thing. These kind of like broader level questions, you know, come to bear, you know, how do we want to address this corridor as a whole? So it's definitely something that in our office that we are aware of and are thinking about.
all right, so if you can, you know, maybe raise that and come back with some update, you know, in the new year, that'd be helpful, I think.
Okay.
Just benefit.
Sure.
Is there any other public comments?
Ms. Kathy Simon, I think, is on the call and she's still here. I'm not sure if she wanted to talk on this matter or she just wanted to be informed, listen to the conversation, but she's on mute right now. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Okay, so if there's no more public comments, let me come back to the board. I see two board members want to be recognized. Lou, why don't you go first?
Yep, just and this is just a follow-up question. You know, we were having this discussion, I know, about the traffic flow in the area and pedestrian safety, and you know, and given the fact also it is sort of a more you know, remote part of the, you know, of the area which does get a lot of traffic, and considering also that we get, you know, this time of year it's dark at, you know, 3:45 in the, you know, in the afternoon. Is there any I want to know, and I'm not sure if it was on the plans. I know the applicant mentioned about that it would be there'd be a crosswalk. What other sort of safety measures is there going to be? Is there going to be fluorescent paint? Is there going to be any sort of, even like potentially, because I've seen even sites, and frankly we have it on sidewalk crossings, you know, for the rail trail, where you have you know, you push a button and the sidewalk can illuminate. Seen that before. And I wasn't sure what sort of safety measures are being taken for, you know, for pedestrian safety.
So as far as the definition of the safety measures with traffic paint, it's a federal traffic type paint that is used to be white, that has a little bit of reflective. It's not thermoplastic. It is standard white traffic paint. The signage that identifies pedestrian crossing is reflective signage in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control specifications, which again is what DOT falls back to. And I should also like to point out too that in addition to that, we do have a a site light pole in this general area that will light up and illuminate the front area of the Starbucks Starbucks frontage area. There's also additional lighting for the existing shopping center. I believe is a second light pole in this location, and there's a third. So I believe that the area will be properly lit at night when it gets dark, especially in the seasons we're in. There is the signage will be reflective. It would be, your standard traffic control signage that has a reflective component to it. And the painting is all per, Federal Highway Standard spec materials.
But you know what I'm speaking about as well, though, like where you see actually, I've seen it in malls too, where you'll see the sidewalk actually has it's the sidewalk area, the crosswalk area itself. There's lights embedded in the crosswalk.
Yeah, I am not really familiar with that technique. I've heard of it, but I don't know. I don't know too much about it to really deep dive into the comment with respect to how would it be integrated into the shopping center.
Okay. That was a question I had. I don't think I have anything further.
Okay, Peg.
Well, you could always use a small speed bump that's striped to slow traffic down too, in that area. I walk the rail trail frequently. I don't know where those lights are, Lou, but they do have the lights on the street that flash to stop traffic when people are crossing. I was very concerned a few weeks ago because I went through that area and I was involved with MGH when it went in there. And those lights were supposed to be synchronized. And I was amazed. It was a direction I normally don't come, from Water Street, down Endicott Street. And I think the lights only let 4 cars through. And I was really surprised because the traffic was very heavy. And I think that either they should be synced or they should be looked at. As far as who owns those lights, I do know, Josh, that I believe I know, if I remember correctly, that the state owns the lights at the intersection at the ramps at 128 on either side. We had discussions a long time, and there are studies out there about the intersection at Endicott Street and Liberty Tree Mall. And we may have actually been discussing the lights at MGH and Endicott Plaza. I don't know exactly where the state highway layout ends. I thought it ended right at the interchanges. But if it does, then all the other lights are the responsibility of the town because they would be on town-owned street.
That's very likely the situation, right?
So, I mean, we've talked about these lights for a long time and how they do need to be synchronized, so the traffic would moves freer. The other thing is regarding litter. I think it's admirable that there's a crew out there that's picking up at the plaza, but this woman lives directly next door. And if your crew is out there picking up litter, I think someone should be going over there picking up wipes and other litter that obviously come from Market Basket or the mall. I don't think it's right that she has to deal with that. I have to say that and again, I walk the rail trail, but we go out and we have our little grabbers, and periodically we see litter and we'll pick it up. I think that, the mall as a good neighbor should look around and see where their litter's going and get it, and pick it up, not just the mall area. So those are my comments.
Good, helpful. All right, if there's no other public comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Tori,
Yes.
Jean?
Can I vote?
Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. I mean, are you comfortable? I know you're an alternate, but are you comfortable with the, okay, thank you. Peg,
Yes,
Lou,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. So Lou, can I turn to you to read the motion in based on some of the conversations we've had?
Sure.
You know, I mean, the owner has acknowledged that he's willing to help with the picking up of the litter and managing that better.
Mhm.
So, you know, we just want to encourage that to happen. And if there's a name that we need to have for comments, because of you know, for neighborhoods, that we have a point of contact from the management company, I think would be helpful.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So John, do we want to have this into the, in the decision?
Yeah, I think if we could, I mean, does the applicant have any concerns about what it's basically what was agreed upon the way I hear it. So I just want to make sure that the minutes reflect that.
Yeah, this is Mr. Petzold. I would like to have my name and number and contact information accessible. And this particular neighbor, I hope to communicate with tomorrow, so I can make sure I'm more familiar with that particular property. But in general, I'm both the owner and the manager. And if you'd like some information for me, for the record, I can give this right now. Would you like that?
Josh, what do you think? Or can the applicant just give it to you just so
Yeah,
we have
I
the
could,
record?
yes, I can facilitate the contact information from the applicant to concerned or residents or nearby abutters who have concerns or current issues.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
that'd be a better way to do it.
okay, so Tom Petzold, and
Oh,
did you want my number?
Tom, you
yeah,
can.
Tom, we
you
could
can,
do it offline, Tom.
Okay, we'll do it
you
offline,
give
yeah,
it
but
to Josh, okay?
Yeah.
So that the town has it, and if there's questions that come into the town, we know who to respond to. You don't have to do it in a public.
okay, and just to make the point, it's important to me that those contacts come directly to me and that I don't give you my maintenance vendor's staff member or somebody. It's important that I get it, so you know, so that's important. So anyway, we'll follow up with that. Thank you.
So Lou, if you can, right? So we'll use that as kind of the main motion, right? And then, you know, then we'll have a discussion and have an action item.
Okay, very good. So what I'll do then, this is the, I have in front of me, John, the decision, and so I'll include that as one of the conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah, please.
Okay, will do. So I have the decision in front of me, site plan review, 139 Endicott Street, Endicott Plaza. Date of application, October 28th, 2021. Date of hearing, December 14th, 2021. Date of decision, December 14th, 2021. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by Endicott Plaza Limited Partnership for property at 139 Endicott Street, Assessors Map 63, Lot 2, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plan. Quote, site plan for Starbucks Endicott Plaza, Danvers, Mass, end quote, prepared by R.J. O'Connell and Associates, Inc., dated October 21st, 2021, consisting of 14 sheets. The following waivers were approved with the submission. 1, section 4.8.11, no submission of a lighting/photometric plan. This approval is subject to the following conditions. I believe the first condition is the applicant will comply with the comments from engineering to include, and Josh, you may need to help me here in terms of the specific language with respect to the CCTV.
Yeah, would you like me to read it, or what would be beneficial to? I could just read it real quick.
I
The
think
applicant
because the way I
shall,
have it right now is that
Yep.
is that will comply with the comments that were received. Will comply with the town comments to include, and then if you can read.
yep, the applicant shall CCTV the existing drain line in the presence of the Danvers, the Danvers Engineering Division. The Engineering Division will determine the existing condition of the drain and its structural integrity. The acceptable repairs and or replacement will be conditioned in the required stormwater permit application.
Okay, and so then I have also then a second condition 2, and this is the applicant will provide a point of contact information to planning staff and will endeavor to resolve any neighborhood or other site concerns with respect to the shopping center. John, does that seem?
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay.
Is there a second on the motion?
And I will just say, I'm sorry, just to finish this, this
Yep.
project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Compliance review of the site plan shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date. Signed, John Farmer, Chair.
Okay, that there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion from the board? Okay, if not, a roll call vote. Tori,
Yes.
Peg,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. So we wish the applicant good luck, and hopefully we can resolve, some of the concerns that were addressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Josh, the next item on the agenda is zoning regulations of the planning board, review and adopt section 4 submission materials. So you want to take this one and, if you can, while we talk about this particular item, can you refer back to this set of plans that we just talked about with this applicant? And just for a point of reference, how did this plan stack up to what we're trying to accomplish moving forward?
Sure. So the macro level view of this item is this is the talking about the planning board's zoning regulations, and this is kind of an addendum or kind of what I view as kind of like the sister document to the zoning bylaw, but just kind of has a little bit more details and it's a place that we're able to just put some information that might be more appropriate in here than the zoning bylaw if you want to kind of edit it in a more like frequently, because if you edit or modify the zoning bylaw, sometimes it takes 12 months or 18 months every time this for a town meeting. So the submission materials sort of came out of a lot of the language of this is from the site plan, the old site plan section 4 in the zoning bylaw, and this is just kind of a more updated version of what used to kind of be required, and just kind of clearer, like more kind of just modern language and kind of stuff that we're kind of looking at when plans are submitted. In terms of weirdly, John, your comment about how the applicant that we were just talking about, how this would meet this, this application had come in right before town meeting, like a couple weeks, so it didn't necessarily meet these standards, or it didn't have to comply with all of them, but it's sort of very similar at the macro level to what was kind of required in the past, with like a layout plan, landscape plan, lighting plan, It's not too, it's, you know, there's a little bit more, or a little bit more kind of like technical information. But it's very similar. It's not too dissimilar to what was kind of in the past. Kind of what's been submitted in the past and what we should, you know, right here, the street layout and profile plan, just kind of like what we've been talking about all night. Same type of information, a utilities plan, just like what was asked in the past, a landscape plan. We were just looking at one, the one for Starbucks. So, you know, it's kind of, you know, once again, the lighting plan, and then just some other kind of materials and documents that other application submittals other than site plans, when people just submit stuff, whether the traffic study, what we'd like to see in it. I'm not sure. Oh, and then, you know, once again, they have the ability, just like we do now before town meeting, the ability to, you know, applicants have the ability to request waivers. So I know that was kind of like a macro level view of this all. But if there's any particular questions, I'd be happy to try and talk through it.
So let me just phrase a couple of questions. I think that was helpful, Josh. I mean, what we're trying to do is find the right balance here, right? Some of the feedback that I got, and maybe other members of the board who are town meeting members, is we're trying to find the right balance of being transparent of what we want, but also not make it so comprehensive that it's so expensive that people can't.
Sure.
So in light of that, in your knowledge of other communities, where would you put us in terms of submittal documentation compared to other communities? And that,
Sure.
Is this standard, or is this on the?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, for sure. You know, especially because of what was voted at town meeting and the zoning amendments that were proposed and were approved and supported by the board, in that, you know, in kind of looking going forward, the projects that will be coming to the board will now generally be more substantial projects, right? You know, if someone was, you know, unfortunately over the summer, I believe there was one of the meetings, there was like a deck on the back of a building, you know, come with these, when, you know, obviously in those types of situations, if you're requiring, you know, how our book used to read was, you would need the 9-sheet plan set for when you're doing a deck, or anytime you'd have to go to the board, the 9 sheets were required. Where now it's if you're proposing a project that, you know, is is fairly substantial, generally those are the types of projects that the planning board will be reviewing now. And that the project we were just looking at, it would have come to the board. It would come to the board now, even because the square footage of the new building would have triggered coming to the board. So, you know, if you're doing a pretty decent sized project, you know, there's going to be some documentation required for it, right? For review, and just to make sure that, you know, all those important things that we all care about and concerned about and are being met. So I would say that you know, if there's a project that the board's reviewing, you know, I don't think that we're requesting or requiring a significant more than we should at this point.
Okay, that's helpful. I mean, the bigger projects, the more professional developer with bigger budgets, I'm not as
Right.
concerned. I'm more concerned about the lower end.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, those were my comments. Other comments from the board to Josh on this particular item on the agenda, and again, for those in Peg, you know, those who weren't town meeting members, at least I heard from a couple folks that they're concerned that we're getting too tight in terms of all our requirements.
I've had that concern for a while. I remember when we first put together this, I look at this as a guide for an applicant.
Exactly, right.
It's a
Right.
guide that he can go through this, or she can go through it and decide what she needs to do, what needs to be presented. When we first did this a number of years ago, we really didn't have much, and I was concerned back then over the cost of the application fees and who had to hire an attorney or an engineer to come in to discuss. And at that point, we didn't have the administrative section where if you were putting 3 feet 8 inches on a deck, you could just go to the planning department. You had to go through planning board. I don't really have a problem with this. I think that this is a fluid document. It can always be changed. It's hard to get to town meeting, I know, but it can be changed. I think that people are paying the higher fees are the people that can afford them. They have the larger projects.
Yep.
And they need to have representation of an engineer or an attorney or somewhere of that statute. And so they can take care of those fees. I think we have hopefully successfully weeded out those projects where we're charging people a lot of time and money for something that isn't really required. So I don't have a problem with this. I have to admit I've gone through it. I did kind of glaze over by the time I got down to the downtown again, probably because I've seen it so many times. And I'm hoping that it's the same thing I saw 3 years ago. So, I don't really have a problem with this. I just look at it as a guide that we can say here. And if you need a waiver, and they can ask for waivers,
That's right.
ask for your waiver right up front so we know, and tell us why you want that waiver. So I'm no problem.
That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Corey, comments? Tori, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I share your concern and Peg's about smaller project not being overburdened, but I do think we addressed that at town meeting, and hopefully we're not going to see too many more of these very small projects where we kind of wonder why they're before the board. For the projects that are substantial enough that we should be discussing them, I think these are really good guidelines. I do want to see detailed plans, and yeah, applicants can ask for waivers if they think there's a good reason. And I don't think there's too many times we've denied a waiver, for example, because something was not being changed in the proposed modifications. So I'm good with this language.
Good. Lou?
Yeah, I agree with what's already been said. I'm in agreement with this as well. Again, I think this does strike a good balance because again, I think it provides the specificity that we need, but at the same time, I think also that waivers can be requested and can certainly be entertained on pretty much any number of the requirements. So I'm actually okay with this.
Thank you. Jean?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm in favor of more information.
Any comments from the public? Is Mr. Duggan still
I
here?
don't. Oh, sorry.
No one else? Okay.
Yeah, this is.
No one had indicated. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Duggan.
Yeah, so was this something that you're going to create a warrant article and bring to town meeting? To kind
No,
of.
this is Mr. Duggan, this is the planning board's zoning regulations. It is a what are you calling a sister document to the zoning bylaw, or an addendum to the zoning bylaw. It's a document. This is just it's a document that has kind of a little bit more detail. It kind of originated when the whole new downtown zoning it has a lot of the kind of a lot more details into some certain aspects of the downtown zoning stuff, just because we were getting concerned. I mean, our zoning bylaws already, as we speak right now, 267 pages, and we were trying to not have a document that was 400 pages plus. So there's this other document called the planning board zoning regulations was created. And it has, like I said, additional details or information, or, there's the signage requirements for downtown is in here. And so what we're talking about tonight is simply adding a submission materials a new submission materials section to that larger document, and I could provide that document to you. It's also on our website, and the general public obviously can access it at any time. The significant majority of the document is regarding just projects in the new downtown zoning stuff, but this would be a section of that document that is for all geographic areas of town, or site plan applications and other applications that the planning office might receive.
All right.
So
well,
this
thank-
will not this won't be going to town meeting, or it will not be a warrant article.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. So at town meeting, there was, I think, an effort to streamline the application process for minor projects, but I think what was described was that most of this material is required anyway for a building permit. So, you try to,
Yes.
is that kind of what this conversation led to this conversation?
So the conversation, in that new section, not new, in the section 4 site plan, in the zoning bylaw, it gives the kind of parameters about what, the thresholds, right? For if your project, exceeds 20 parking spaces, if your project is over 2,000 square feet, these kind of 5 to 7 kind of thresholds, or, things that you're meeting. And so if you're meeting those things, then you have to, you do meet site plan review. You need to go to site plan review. This information that we're looking at and discussing right now is what would be required if you met those thresholds that are described in the zoning bylaw, if that makes sense.
Yep. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I haven't looked at this document, so I'll have to take a look at it. You said it's
I could certainly share the zoning regulations document that exists right now. It's about 97 pages. And then I could share this. We would just be placing this new section or / chapter within that existing document.
all right.
I can share that with you tomorrow, Mr. Duggan.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.
All right, so these are, for the benefit again of the public listening, and this is really the operating procedures, right? And as we
Correct.
said, the applicant has the right to ask for a waiver, and it makes a lot of sense, okay, to lay out exactly what's needed. And as long as we feel we've got the right balance for projects of this size compared to what other communities are requiring, I think it's a great idea to streamline it. So
Just one other comment, John, not to cut you off, but if we do, I would just like to make is that these are in the planning board's zoning regulations. So after 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, or a year, we feel that maybe there's a couple things in here that aren't appropriate, or we feel that they are being cumbersome or burden. It's fairly straightforward. It's very simple to simply, we could at a meeting, we could revise the language. It's pretty straightforward to modify anything in here. So I also think that's very beneficial for the group.
yeah, no, I think that's important. So what you're really saying is if future planning boards feel they need to make some adjustments, it's not a requirement to go back to town meeting for approval.
Exactly. We could, over the next 5 months, we feel that one of these sheets that's
Yeah.
required is, you know, very burden or cumbersome, we could just say, you know, as a group, you know, this whole section, we don't need, you know, we feel we could strike this language, and we could do that at a planning board meeting.
Okay, that's helpful. Any other conversations? If not, is there a motion to adopt section 4 of the submittal materials of the zoning regulations of the planning board?
So moved.
Okay, so that was Lou and second by Tori. Okay, so roll call vote, Peg? I think you're on mute, Peg.
I'm mute, sorry. Yes.
Okay, Tori,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. So the last item is the minutes of June 22nd, 2021. I believe we're all here. Peg joined a little late, but the minutes have been published. Any comments on the minutes of June 22nd?
Can I vote on the minutes where I came in at 7:40 or?
I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
Okay. I didn't know. Then I move that we approve the minutes of June, was it June 22nd? Did you
June
say?
22nd, yeah.
June 22nd, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Tori,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
Peg,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. So is there any other matters for the board?
I just have one, John, on pickup stuff. They were talking about litter. And I have to admit that the contractor did pick up the vinyl siding, but there's a huge box that the Arc building that's being done over.
Mhm.
They've left a huge box down on the side of the rail trail. I don't know who the contractor is. They did finally pick up the vinyl siding that was there for a long time. It wasn't stored. Looked like it was damaged. But regarding litter,
Oh, Peg, not to cut you off. Is it a cardboard box that's empty, or
it's
is it
empty.
filled?
Yep, it's empty. Yep, so I'll
But it
twist
just
it
had
up.
it probably was blown off the
Yes.
64 Holton site, probably.
Yeah, and for some reason they felt the need to pick up the vinyl siding, but they left the box. It's about 6 feet in length, maybe. a
I
little
could
longer.
I think I
Okay.
have the contact information for the development team on that one. I could send them an email tomorrow if that would
Just
be
tell 'em to
if the
grab
board
it.
if that's
Yeah,
if the board would like me to do that, I'd be happy to do that.
I would appreciate it. I'd like to see it go. I don't want to see it stay there.
Okay, I could do that.
Thanks,
Cardboard box, rail trail. Okay.
Big deal.
Okay, if there's no other matters, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe.
Happy holidays.